Heavenly Father, we thank you for the life of this child entrusted to our care. Help us to remember that we are all your children, and so to love and nurture him, that he may attain that full stature intended for him in your eternal what? Oh, wait, what?
What the? Oh, that's a huge. What fresh hell is this? Kill it.
Has a new house
Boom.
I
Boom.
warned you
This
to look at the
is
ultrasound.
Boom. No. Just no.
This right here is why I prefer calling. I'm calling the police. Greetings all, my name is Kontrol. I'm a professional artist, a huge fan of classic comics, and a documented Bloodborne survivor. Bloodborne is a nightmare fuel horror RPG from Japanese game developer From, which inspired the name of my own development house, 2. Right. Bloodborne is no ordinary Japanese RPG. The main hero has memory loss, and enormous swords are a definite option in battle. But there's no cast of lovable teammates to recruit, and your hair isn't the least bit spiky. The story is a grim yarn about godlike entities, alternate realities, mad science, and monstrous human transformation. I think. Your character is apparently just some ordinary person who walked into town looking for medical assistance. I suppose it's possible you made it all the way to the clinic without noticing that 90% of the town are zombified hell creatures. Anyway, you're pretty much instantly recruited to jog around, slaughtering the monsters that litter the streets. Of course, the plot specifics aren't laid out in a conventional way. Bloodborne is more about the lore than the details of your dark adventure. Dark Souls fans will be familiar with the From developers' unusual way of delivering story. I feel like if the original Star Wars was a From RPG, you'd find out about the existence of the Death Star from a hideous NPC derelict.
It is the sphere you seek. From the sky, it will rain down destruction. A single exploit, a single discharge of fire from the Chosen will topple an empire.
You'll then be able to potentially destroy this Death Star if you travel to precisely the correct area of the map with the correct artifact you may or may not have found in the optional Cantina stage, if you gave the correct response to the Tusken Raiders, the ones you met if you bartered with the Jawas and purchased the red power converter. Pro tip for people jumping into a From Software game: seek out lots of pro tips. Yes, I know hardcore badasses will insist you walk through the hellscape completely blind, but you'll miss tons if you don't do your homework. For instance, without help, I would never have gotten Bloodborne's best ending. That's right, I would not have been transformed into a slug. Yes, kids, that's what's passing for the good ending in this heartwarming story. But some players think being punished is an essential part of the game's enjoyment. I witnessed a Let's Play where commenters were worried the player was grinding to the point of becoming overpowered. I'm overpowered in a game where screen-filling enemies like Sir Lawrence are trying to incinerate me. I'm supposed to worry about powering up too much? Yeah, try not to worry when sadists are telling you you're playing the game wrong. Which brings us to the subject of this pinup, the legendary Orphan of KOS, who happens to be the final boss of Bloodborne's Old Hunters DLC. Here's his description from the Bloodborne wiki page. Let's see. The orphan appears to be a human, Great One, offspring of the deceased KOS. The orphan is a tall, skeletal humanoid. Its mouth is permanently fixed in a rictus grin, and it constantly screams throughout the fight. A thin membrane is draped across its back like a cape. This transforms into a pair of wings when the orphan enters its second form. The orphan wields its placenta in combat, akin to a club or flail, and it can tear pieces off to use as explosive projectiles. After it transforms, the placenta mutates into a weapon resembling a gigantic axe or glaive. Upon encountering the orphan, it will initially ignore the player and stare up at the sky mournfully. However, once the player approaches, it will fly into a fit of rage and begin the final battle. So yeah, less than a minute after its birth, the orphan quickly adopts the when in Rome principle and kills you. Notice I didn't say tries to kill you. No, he kills you. To death. You can fight, and by this point in the game you're likely quite powerful, but you'll lose. On your first attempt, this is virtually guaranteed. Unless you're one of those gaming savants who can walk through the entire Ninja Gaiden series flawlessly without even turning on their monitor. Spoiler alert, you aren't. So before your first encounter with the orphan, make sure your affairs are in order. It was nice knowing you. Now, Bloodborne is famously hard, or at least it seems hard, until you download the optional DLC and learn what hard really means. The Old Hunters DLC has its own set of boss battles, and for me, Orphan was the most insane. Now, Bloodborne bosses are hugely varied in their size and attack strategies, so one player's insane battle is another player's super easy, barely an inconvenience walk in the park. But there is no question that Orphan of KOS, Lady Maria, and Vicar Lawrence are leagues tougher than any other bosses in the game. In fact, after completing the DLC, I easily toppled the main game's final boss battles without dying a single time. For this kid, Orphan of KOS stands as the single most difficult boss battle of this generation. His combination of godlike speed, his sturdy life bar, and endless variety of long and short range attacks were just baffling to me. I died at least 30 times, and it was never because I ran out of health potions. The monster just killed me before I could even take one. I initially had this theory that if I left him alone long enough, the orphan would eventually die of ugly, like its mother. But nope, you have to wail on him and hope he croaks before you do. The good news is Bloodborne's beautiful graphics and solid gameplay are so compelling it never becomes a tedious affair to muscle through to the end. A lengthy horror game with a relentlessly grim atmosphere would be unplayable if not for the level of skill and detail that From employed in creating this game world. At no point did I ever consider dropping it. Something I most definitely cannot say about Dark Souls. Now, drawing the orphan turned out to be almost as hard as killing him. His face seems to look different in every screenshot. Same with the slimy details around his neck and shoulders. I still have no idea how those leathery wings on his back attach to the rest of his form. What I ultimately ended up with here is kind of my own interpretation. Orphan of KOS, prepared through my own improvised recipe. The human hero was easy by comparison. The Yarnum Female Hunter set, rendered in a way to hug the form with a dash of sex appeal. I was never able to successfully unlock the Lady Maria Bikini set, so I had to make do. Along for the journey is the Hunter Battle Axe that I leveled up and stuck with for the entire duration of my playthrough. I promise I'll try other stuff when I inevitably play through it again someday. Anyway, I think that's about all we've got for now. I am ecstatic that you made it to the end. If you enjoyed this Let's Draw, I insist you hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. And let me know in the comments what you'd like to see on the channel. We absolutely take requests here. Oh, and share it with every Bloodborne fan you know. I don't usually do this, but coming up on Kontrol Incorporated next week. Well, just a hint. It rhymes with J-Lo. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.